Hello and welcome to our show, Basic Concepts in the Wisdom of Kabbalah with Dr. Michael Laitman. Hello. And our topic for today, Kabbalah and the different or various beliefs. To this day, and throughout history, of course, there are several thousands. Someone counted them. I think there are about 3,800. Right, and from the point of view of Kabbalah, if we look at reality, what we see are two stories. On the one hand, there's the development of human society, beliefs, culture. It's all developing as a cultural phenomenon. On the other hand, there is the inner change of humanity, of mankind, and this is what Kabbalah is engaged in, meaning our desires constantly change, they're growing and developing, and this naturally influences, or as a result of this, the different beliefs change from different pagan beliefs to monotheism, etc., etc. And from what I understand, there is no direct connection between them. And now we'd like to examine the difference between Kabbalah and the different beliefs from the point of view of the inner development we just mentioned. And so, without any further ado, let's begin with certain postulates. In Kabbalah, there's an important rule that says that all processes that occur in the spiritual worlds need to at least once appear in the corporeal world, writes Bala Sulam. So obviously, what it says in all of our source texts, somehow it was manifested in our world. Yeah. The spiritual worlds are the root to everything that happens, and our world is the branch or result of that root. And the root always needs to cascade to its branch in our world, meaning everything that exists in the upper worlds needs to somehow manifest in our world. Could be rarely, sometimes, once, in a certain form, specific form. Could be some tremendous force or special action in the upper world, and in our world it could be something barely noticed, some barely noticed action or force. But in fact, always, the upper root needs to touch to create its branch in our world. And we, from that branch, can learn something about the root itself. Okay, so let's explore it. Let's examine the differences between Kabbalah and the different beliefs. The first difference is, I wrote a few dozens. The first difference is the constancy of the Creator. Many spiritual practices say that the Creator changes his attitude toward man according to his behavior, etc., etc. And around that, there are many different spiritual practices that know what's the right way to relate to the Creator, how to interact with him. The wisdom of Kabbalah says that the Creator is a quality or law of nature that doesn't change in his relation to man. The Creator is an absolute, unchanging constant. We're the ones that change. And it seems to us, therefore, that the world's changing, but the world is a reflection of myself, and the only thing that changes is me. Yeah, but sometimes we see that the upper force treats us nicely, sometimes he doesn't. It's because this is how we change. He's constant. It's the upper force, called Creator, which is absolute. And the absolute can't change, because if he is whole and complete, he cannot change. And therefore, in him, there is the quality of absolute good, absolute connection, absolute love. And I change, and depending on how I change in relation to him, it seems to me that he changes the world around me. Meaning something inside of me changes, and sometimes I see that the Creator is good, sometimes is bad. Right? It's like you can't say that the mother loves her child more or less. Ask the child. To him it seems that today mom is bad, yesterday she was good, etc. Meaning, according to his behavior, this is how he interprets his mother's behavior. Okay, so this is how Kabbalah relates to this. Now, the attainment of faith. Next postulate. In the wisdom of Kabbalah, it's necessary to attain the Creator and feel Him and not just believe in Him. There are many such methods where it says that you need to reach the level of the Creator and only then will you be able to understand His thought and the way He treats you, and that you don't need to believe in anything. Here, there is a very big confusion between Kabbalah and other methods. Because in all other methods, faith is scrutinized as I accept upon myself some postulate with my eyes shut, and it becomes my truth. In Kabbalah, that does not exist. Kabbalah says that you don't believe in anything, but you only attain. It's defined by this interesting saying, a judge has only what his eyes see. This is the only thing you can trust, meaning our vision is our most important, strongest means for perceiving reality, so what you perceive through vision, that exists. Everything else you can put aside. And what you see, this is the only thing considered to be the truth. And the same in our world. Suppose when a judge invites some witness who saw something and he asked him, did you see? No, I heard. Heard? No, that's not interesting. That's not evidence. If you saw, then he's being questioned, etc., etc. And if he really saw what he saw, then it is accepted as the truth. What does it mean to see and hear the Creator, by the way? So the attainment of the Creator, just like in our world, it's in sounds and pictures. Sounds, meaning as if I heard the voice. It's described kind of poetically. On the one hand. On the other hand, besides hearing the voice, I also had a vision. So a vision is considered to be a completely trustworthy attainment, revelation. So meaning these are different degrees of attainment, hearing and seeing. But it's not something, we're not talking about our senses, right? No, it's completely internal, having nothing to do with our vision or hearing in any way. What does it mean to see the Creator? To see the Creator, it means a level of attainment, of recognition, of sensation, which is the deepest. And hearing is much lesser degree, but also of attainment. And to add to that, that vision means attaining in the light of Chokhmah, and hearing means attaining in the light of Chasadim. For those who understand, Baal Sulam writes that every person is guaranteed to finally attain all the wonderful attainments with which the Creator contemplated in the thought of creation to delight every creature, and one who has not been awarded in this life will be granted in the next life, etc., until one is awarded completing his thought which he had planned for him. Meaning all of us will come back to this world until, while existing in this world, we will completely attain the Creator. Okay, the next difference is prayer. A prayer in Kabbalah and a prayer in other beliefs. From what I understand, to pray means to judge yourself. Right, in Kabbalah it means to judge yourself. In Hebrew, it's called Laitman, to judge yourself. What does it mean? When a person evaluates himself, his qualities, and sees by which qualities of his does he appreciate the Creator. And therefore he judges himself. Am I doing it correctly or not? Am I rising above my ego? Can I be objective? Or not completely, etc. Inner scrutinies. Scrutinies of the level of his perception How objective is it? And in that case, the measure in which he correctly feels the Creator, not being bribed by his inner ego. So we can say that a prayer is the recognition of what a person wants from his current state and what does he aspire for, the delta between them. Yeah, you can say that. It creates this kind of inner demand in a person, plea. He doesn't exactly know who is he turning to, but he feels change inside himself, and this is called a prayer. And it's unrelated or maybe related to the prayer books written by Kabbalists. No, the prayer books are something completely, it's more complicated. It's what Kabbalists built for themselves as a plan in order to inquire upon their attainment and how is it possible to correct their attainment. How can they adjust it, aim it? It's like instructions. Yeah, very serious instructions. Kabbalistic prayer books are an entire system of a person's interaction with himself and the Creator inside of him and the world. This is really very serious work. And if you just read it like tradition, what they wrote, without understanding what they wrote, an ordinary prayer book or a Kabbalistic one, there's a difference between them. Of course, in a Kabbalistic prayer book, only a Kabbalist from a certain level can understand something. And in a regular prayer book, any person that reads and understands the language will understand. But it was also written by Kabbalists, the ordinary prayer book. Right. But in the Kabbalistic prayer book, there it speaks of the interaction between forces and of the person with those forces. And in an ordinary prayer book, it's the same, only it's described in everyday language. The language different. Right. So the prayer is divided into two, suppose. One is my inner prayer. What am I really lacking now in relation to the state that I want to come to? What pains me right now? And there's something written by Kabbalists that if I'll read it, for me it will be as an instruction for spiritual ascent, even though that I don't yet feel those states. Right, but still it helps, it elevates. Also in Kabbalah, from what I understand, there's no plea for mercy, atonement for sins in exchange for promises of some kind of... No. We're dealing here with serious actions. I'm not standing in front of some judge pleading for something. I'm standing in front of a system that completely formats me, defines me, and I know how I influence it and how it influences me. I try to figure things out, and if I have some kind of plea, then I need to lay it out in a way that the system will correctly respond to it. And if I don't, then it's a problem, meaning the system is expecting for me to intervene in it. So it's like I can't pray to gravity, right? The same. This is how a Kabbalist feels the Creator. What's the difference? The law of gravity, it's also the law of the Creator, the force of the Creator, like all other forces of nature. What's the difference between the Creator and no difference? You can pray to the law of gravity. You can pray to any law of nature. Meaning you can ask to be correctly adapted to that force. Meaning I can't ask gravity that if I'm falling, then for it to somehow soothe my... No, it won't help. It won't help soothe the fall. Of course not. So I need to put a mattress or something. That will help. Or you need to ask the Creator to make it so that you won't fall. How do I need to change in order not to fall? And some beliefs, meaning you're not asking him not to fall, but how to change in order not to fall. Not to fall, everyone in the world asks for it and nothing helps. But to change, to make yourself better, for the forces of nature to correctly work on me so that I won't fall, this is something that I can ask for. Meaning I can ask to correct myself for my own correction, but not about anything else. I think that in all beliefs, there's this concept of appeasing the upper forces by bringing a sacrifice. Is there something like that in Kabbalah? Of course, there's bringing an offering, sacrifice in Kabbalah. It exists in Kabbalah. And that's how it's called, sacrifice. But what it means is, when a person sacrifices his ego, he does not wish to use it. He does not want for the ego to control him. He wants to invert it into its opposite, into altruism, into bestowal. That's called bringing an offering, a sacrifice, and thus, in Hebrew, they're called korbanot. Korban, sacrifice, from the word karov, to be close, to come closer. So bring a sacrifice means that I want to correct my ego, and based on its correction, to come closer to you. This is what sacrifice means, that I sacrifice my ego. So everything that it says in the Torah about in the first and second temples, and only for that, this is actually what the temple is all about, because the temple is the place of contact between man and the Creator, so to speak. Man came to such a place inside his heart. You can also physically go there, but it doesn't mean anything. Inside his heart, where he could sacrifice his ego, slaughter it, and bring it as a sacrifice in order to come closer to the Creator. The feeling of complete altruism, love, connection, bestowal. So it has nothing to do with those actions where they brought sacrifices, animal. No, it's all an allegory. Yeah, but in the temple they did bring offerings and sacrifices. Right, but it was all done by way of root and branch, as we've already mentioned. But that's it. Otherwise, you can slaughter as many poor animals as you want, but nothing will happen as a result. So, the great priest sacrificed his ego. This was the most corrected person of the entire nation. So, in order to come closer to the Creator, he slaughtered some sheep, and they used to eat it. And along with it, they carried out all the procedures, starting with the uppermost spiritual ones down to the lowest corporeal ones, all together with the same intention. I remember asking myself, what does the Creator need these poor animals for? A person needs to identify with it internally. Okay, there's one more pretty strange thing in Kabbalah. Well, in general, everything's kind of strange in Kabbalah, until you start understanding. It's kind of contradictory to what's common in the world, the concept of sin. And Rabash writes in his article that man's sin is in that he did not ask the Creator for help, for the Creator hears the prayer of every mouth. That when a person wants to walk on the path of bestowal and not by way of reception, the sin is mainly that a person did not ask the Creator to help him overcome the evil inclination, the ego, and for this he asks forgiveness. Sin, usually we consider something bad that I did to someone else. No, the bad or good that you do, it's not you doing, but it's the Creator doing. The bad that you did, the sin isn't the bad that you did, but that you didn't ask the Creator, and therefore those egoistic qualities that have awoken in you forced you to do bad. For not asking for their correction, That is your sin. So if I didn't ask, then obviously everything else is the Creator. It's not you. Because they're negative, obviously I'll do something bad. You don't do anything at all. You don't act. The only thing is, did you ask for correction or didn't you? That's it. So the sin is if I don't ask the Creator for help, for correction. Right. 3 prayers. What do Kabbalists say about the conditions? There are several conditions before you pray, before you do this. What we said previously, what we previously called as self-scrutiny. There are 3 conditions. The first is to believe that the Creator can save you, meaning I need to believe that there is some upper force that can help me. Second thing is that He has already done all that he could, but saw no cure. And the third is that if the Creator doesn't help him, he's better off dead than alive. What are these 3 conditions? These are a person's 3 correct conditions of relation to his state, to his life, meaning everything is determined by the Creator. There's no single thought or sensation in me that comes from me, myself, but only from Him. Meaning that I always need to be in a state of increased readiness to analyze everything that happens in my intellect and emotion, to understand that it's all the Creator forms it, is forming it, and to immediately ask Him to the measure of my revelation of my emotions and heart and intellect, to ask for correction, for Him to correctly aim me, direct me with good thoughts of love and bestowal for others, towards others, and with good feelings, meaning above myself, and bestowal toward others. If I catch on time everything that the Creator sends me, and He sends me only bad things, He reveals only the evil in me. So it says, I've created the evil inclination, and I catch that evil on the way and immediately ask Him to invert it into good. Then, what we get with Him is a very interesting condition called a dance, like 2 people dancing, like in a tango. He leads me, I lead him. He works on me, influences me, and I respond. He's like this, I'm like that. And this is how we complete each other. And so he creates evil, and I ask him to invert it into good. This is what life's all about. Another state called the recognition of evil. In our egoistic nature, and Kabbalists themselves write that they rejoice the recognition of evil. Of course, normal people, if they come to the recognition of their own evil, they ask for help. That's correct. But the most important thing is to come to the recognition of evil. When you recognize it, when you understand that it comes from the Creator, because there's none else besides Him, then you have just one thing left to ask Him to invert that evil into good. That's what our entire life's all about. All of our spiritual work is only about that. To immediately turn to Him and ask for Him to invert it into good. So without coming to the recognition of the evil of my own qualities, I can't turn to the Creator. No. It's like you're standing at the gate and the Creator is constantly shooting goals at you and you need to constantly deflect the ball all the time. So Kabbalists don't really eat themselves. How could that be? If you cry, if you condemn, if you're discontent with your life, then you're discontent with what the Creator does to you. So, in Kabbalah, the reason for man's corruption is viewed upon from a positive point of view. The Creator does it on purpose in order for man to be needy of Him and thus will be able to rise to his level. Bala Sulam writes in one of his articles that he is happy for the revelation of the evil in him, meaning the egoistic intentions in relation to the Creator. Meaning he reveals his egoistic nature in relation to the Creator. Yeah. The Creator likes sinners more than the righteous. Why? Because a sinner is he who discovers that the Creator actually sends him bad things. The Creator, he created a soul, meaning this one great big gigantic spider web in which we're all connected together, and he broke it into pieces. And now he's showing us its pieces for us to constantly ask him to correctly connect us. So, when I feel myself disconnected from others, not wanting to be connected to them, etc., against that I'm against the Creator and the entire world and everything, in that moment I'm considered a sinner. But it brings me to ask him for correction. And when I'm a righteous, then there's nothing to ask for, right? But to thank for, it's only in that moment in which you attain the correction, in that moment, and in the next moment, it throws you down again. So, in a state where the Creator himself determines that he's a sinner, he has a stronger connection with the Creator because he asks for help. Right? Of course. And when he feels that he's righteous, maybe he's completely wrong in that state. But still, all these states, they change. They're not static. But the most important thing is to change. And one can change only if he's in a group and the group aspires for the Creator. Another excerpt from The Freedom by Bala Sulam. He says, the essence of religion is to develop in us the sense of recognition of evil imprinted in us at birth, which is generally defined as our self-love, and to come to the pure good defined as love of others, which is the one and only passage to the love of the Creator. So the essence of all of these methods is only to allow us to understand the Creator, attain the Creator, but precisely the wisdom of Kabbalah brings us to it, because it reveals the way in which the Creator works on us, how do we need to respond to Him. And according to that interaction, two-sided interaction, I to him and he to me, how should we build such a constant relationship where we in unison, like in a tango, that will dance together, and such a dance is called the dance of the bride, where we and the Creator come into complete integration, and that which comes from him to me and from me to him completely matches. One more principle by which we can understand what Kabbalah is and to compare it to other beliefs is similarity to the Creator, becoming like Him. Kabbalah says that a person needs to become like the Creator, but not in action, not in some external actions, to be merciful towards others, etc., etc., but precisely in intention. Of course, not in action. If in action I'd like to be like the Creator, it's very simple. Look at our world. Everything that happens in the world, it comes from the Creator. Of course, there's none else besides Him to like how this world is. So to be like the Creator, meaning to be like this world, that anyone can do. Yeah, that's clear. So, of course, this isn't what it means. To be like the Creator means to attain that which we achieve inside that system, meaning complete love, bestowal, complete interconnection between us. And in order to achieve that complete love and interconnection, He presents us with such a picture of this world that's all broken and separated, so that from it we will attain a world which is the complete opposite. Also, Kabbalists say that were it not for the purpose of creation to become like the Creator, there would have been no need to do any good deeds in our world, meaning to relate to others in any way altogether. Of course, meaning a Kabbalist does it only in order to attain the Creator. Absolutely. And not because of his good attitude towards others. No, I'm not a communist or a socialist or a kind person altogether. We're all complete egoists, and ever more with every generation that goes by, which eventually needs to bring us to a state of mutual love and bestowal, which is really the purpose of creation, adhesion with the Creator. So it's interesting, the Creator Himself reveals our egoistic nature to us. He created it, and turns out that without Him, we can't correct our nature. Of course we can't. We're completely dependent on Him. Why did He make it so? So that we'll be dependent on Him. Why? Because this dependence brings us to wholeness and perfection. We become like Him. Abraham Cook, a Kabbalist of the 20th century, writes that until people will find out that there is the upper force that can change their nature, they themselves will not be able to change their own nature. Of course, only it. Why did the Creator make it that way? It's our complete dependence on Him. But when we become completely dependent on Him, we see that we attain our independence. But probably we'll have to talk about this on our next show. Also, there is the matter of how does one relate to the world. The difference between how a Kabbalist relates to the world and an ordinary believer relates to the world. A Kabbalist relates to the world as the creation of the Creator. Based on his attitude toward the world is how he relates to the Creator. Meaning the world is an example of how I relate to the Creator. A good attitude toward the world, toward people, it means a good attitude toward the Creator. Because a Kabbalist, besides himself, for him, besides himself and the Creator, nothing exists actually. And it's also interesting what Bala Sulam writes in his article, The Solution, which is an article that, as I understand, he didn't plan to publish. He wrote it for himself. He writes, "The religious forum of all nations should first obligate its members to bestow upon each other to the extent that the life of one's friend will come before one's own life. Of love thy friend as thyself. One will not take pleasure in society more than a backward friend. This will be the collective religion of all nations that will come within the framework of altruistic communism. However, besides that, each nation may follow its own religion and tradition. One must not interfere in the other." Is this how all Kabbalists relate to? It's according to the rule that there's no coercion in spirituality. Gradually, each, from his point in the heart, his character, his egoism, gradually achieves equivalence of form with the Creator, similarity, and enters that place in the general system of particular souls where he completes everyone else and interacts with them in complete harmony. So a person can study Kabbalah, follow his egoistic nature, work with that upper force as the law of nature, and along with it, be in certain traditions, religious framework, and one doesn't interfere with the other. Yeah, it doesn't matter. He can have any kind of religious framework. So he belongs to a certain nation. Religion, in that case, is simply considered as culture. And he says that by no means can you interfere or change these traditions. He relates to it as a form of one's soul. To any manifestations of man, you can bow to whoever you want, whatever you want, do whatever you want, doesn't mean anything. The main thing is that you accept the main postulates of Kabbalah. If you realize them, gradually one will reveal the true world. So, today we talked about Kabbalah and different beliefs. I hope that we went over the main principles and compared the principles of Kabbalah with other beliefs, and each of our students will decide for himself what to do with it. Good luck to everyone. All the best.